Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Creators and Copy. I'm Erica Sietsma, CEO and co-founder of Autofluencer. Joining me today is Alex Taylor. Hey Alex.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Excited to have you on and to talk about how do brands and creators build relationships. We hear a lot if you listen to webinars about successful influencer marketing or content creator marketing.
Mhm.
We hear a lot about, it's important to have a relationship, but a lot of people don't explain exactly what that means. I know this is something you're really passionate about and you really believe it.
Mhm.
And that the relationship, building that relationship doesn't fall on one side or the other. So why don't you share with us how you think of relationships and what makes a successful relationship, you know,
Yeah.
in
So,
yeah.
partnerships, that's one of those things, like you're saying, I guess this magical, have a relationship, not a transaction. Like it is, people say that all the time, but the depth isn't there. And I'll actually speak of a couple companies that we, with the help of them and, us, like we have actively built a true relationship. And one of those companies that I want to reference is Iski Cams. That is a company that like he came to me and I'd always said like I want to have long-term partners and I want to have like real relationships, and that was something I was very conscientious about from day one with everything that I was doing. But Iski is one that like really made that happen, and he came in and he's like, look, in our first year, like when I first met Nolan from Iski, we had these conversations and he gave me like some parts, lifters, and this is like this like very slow start to this like partnership. And then the next year, like, but we're staying in contact, and he's like, how can I help you? Let me put you in ads. That way these other brands can see that we're working with you. And I'm like, how can I help you? And he's like, can you make this post? And so it starts off with these like very small transactions, but then over time we start to have these conversations where now you kind of develop this friendship and you're in active communication about, hey, I had this idea. And so while there is at the end of the day a contract there is a relationship that develops further because you stay in open communication and you stay like you're working on, just like you would a regular relationship in your life with friends or family or whatever, you're putting time and investing into that. You have to do the same with your partners. Don't bug them, like the communication, don't overdo it. But over time, those relationships build and they take time. And, Peak is another great example of that as well, because like they have their partners that they work with and it's part of the Peak family and they really make you feel like a family. And for the brand side, they're using you as much, like when I say using you, I mean like they're putting you in their content. When you post something, they're actually interacting with it. You want to work with people that can see what you're doing and that they see what you're doing and vice versa. And so it's really investing time to build those conversations and those relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's so very true, right? There's responsibilities on both sides. And what else would you say? I think we hear sometimes content creators are saying like, oh, the brands don't give me anything. And then the brand's like, oh, the content creators don't give me anything. So what are a couple other tips you might have? We've got the communication. So I love the one you mentioned real quick. I'll call this out. A lot of brands don't think of this. I love how you said like the brands reposting the content or sharing on it, engaging it. So you do that. And it's such a missed opportunity. So I think that was a good one to touch on.
Yeah.
What other tips do you have for brands, like the role of a brand and the role of creator relationship?
Yeah. So for brands on their side, like, and I've got to work on the brand side. So this isn't just coming from like an influencer saying like, oh, this brand should do this. I actually like through Iski and through Crowd, we both happen to be cam companies, but through both of them, I got to work on the brand side and I got to see like okay, this person does this. They put this effort in. That's very valuable. So this is coming from that side as well. But it's one of those things where that interaction back and forth is very valuable. And, I know that I've worked with some like companies before. And I'm like, did they even see? They didn't share my post. I made all this effort and they didn't share it. And then I stop and take accountability. And I'm like, wait a minute. If I wanted them to see this, I don't see everything. If I wanted them to see this and I wanted them to share this, I should take the time to send that over. So I've become more proactive now in the sense that I'm like, that doesn't fall solely on them. They have so much other stuff to manage. Like at the end of the day, everybody's so busy. So I'm like, if this is something that I really see as valuable, if it's maybe I mentioned that brand in a article and that article came out and I have the magazine. If I'm like, oh, I want them to see this, I take the time and I send them an email. I'm like, hey, just so you know, like, here's a mention in case you guys want, just for your own reference. And a lot of times they appreciate that and they might share it. And so it's like one of those like holding accountability, and that goes the opposite direction for a brand to a content creator. Okay, you have these expectations that you want them to carry, but did you convey them clearly? 2, are you doing check-ins with them to make sure that like everybody's on the same page? Like each side has accountability, and it's very easy for the creator to blame the brand and the brand to blame the creator. And it's just taking accountability, having very clear expectations, like having those meetings and those conversations and those check-ins where it's like, are you happy? Oh, okay. What can I do to help you be better? And vice versa. So it's accountability is a big part of it.
A big part. Yeah. And I think it's important in all relationships, right? And any last words that you have, Alex, on building successful relationships between brands and content creators?
Just to summarize it, work on investing in those partnerships, knowing if those partnerships are going to be purely transactional up front. If some will be like that, but know that ahead of time, holding yourself accountable and be willing to put in a little bit extra effort. Like even if they expect, here's this product in exchange for this, or here's this payment in exchange for that, be willing to go the extra mile, and stuff will come your way. Like maybe offer them a little bit extra. And as a creator, from a creator's side, it doesn't go unnoticed often. And so if you want to be more than the average, do more than the average is willing to do. And that's my biggest piece of advice.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Alex, so much for joining us on Creators and Coffee, and hope to talk to you again soon.